Hi everyone, it's Mara here, and I was thinking since I missed December and also November recaps, I was thinking that I would do a 2021 kind of recap all around every single month and do like a little PowerPoint just highlighting the main tickers that I traded, what I liked, the mistakes, and the different market sentiments that we had because every single month was different and no trade was the same, no mistake was the same, everything was a lot different. You can only learn from them. So I was thinking that I would just go over them and just kind of remember what happened and kind of just put it all together just as one last video for 2021. Today is January 23rd. I've been really busy, so I never really put it out, but I guess I'll start with January. So last year it started off very good for OTC traders. Actually, not only for OTC traders, also small caps, big caps, everything that you traded basically was working just perfectly. Any single strategy, any single pattern, everything was just clicking perfectly. And for me, I was mainly focused on OTCs. So for all of my 2020, I was just getting started the size up process going into 2021 because all of 2020 was just singles add up, small losses, no exponential growth, more like kind of like consistent base, just slow singles add up. So moving on to 2021, which is earlier this year, the volume was, insane, and I knew kind of like what I wanted to do, but only after taking 1,000 trades to get to my first 100,000 for more than like over a year, mainly based on, OTC breakouts, OTC panic dip buys, OTC first green days. And it was only after I practiced and practiced that I thought, with the volume, with the opportunities, with the amount of charts that there were, to practice on, ALYI, which is the one that I chose for January, OZSC, ENCC, and like some of them, they're like the highlight, and looking back to them, they all look exactly the same. The start, the run, they hold for a few days, then they get more volume, and then they break out, go for multiple days, go supernova. And that was something that I learned for the whole year of 2020, how they behave, the different types of patterns. And now it was kind of time to shift my focus into how can I size up the best that I can, because I have already seen these before and the opportunities are absolutely insane. We would have a lot of charts throughout the day. There was almost like no midday. You would almost have no time for midday because you had to be on the screens. And this all started like late 2020. So October, November, December, going into January, because December was also very good. So now this leads to February, which is, one of the most insane months um, everyone, had. I feel like everybody was just doing the best that they could, and everybody was so focused, and the market was great because it was not only the market and how good the market was, but it was also the preparation that each of the traders had, and the want. It's that they wanted it really bad, and it just matched up perfectly with the market that we had. So for February, TSNP came back. It was the best ticker for me December of 2020, as it panics every single day. And like I mentioned previously, they will hold and re-break out for a few days. And TSNP actually went to $2. And then it would just, keep giving that same opportunity that it had. So TSNP, for almost any OTC trader out there, they have something to do with TSNP, and they talk wonders about TSNP because it moved so well. You can tell just by looking at the chart, the way it holds, the amount of days it had for the consolidation, the breakout, it never went red. It always held its levels and it just knew what it wanted to do. So TSNP was definitely one of my highlights for February and for December of 2020. And then this came in February, one of my tweets where I said just about 8 months ago, I was taking the same exact panic trade on ELOZSC, making $38. So that is when I was just trading to practice. Like I was just trading to practice in 2020, and then 1 year later, trading it the exact same way, making 17,000 on it. So when I started to size up. That same month actually, I crossed 1 million in trading profits, and I made a goal last year that said, I wanted to cross it maybe when I was 25, and it turned out to be the same year. So you never know what to expect, and setting goals is really important because you have something to look forward to. And I feel like that's when I started, I kind of never really did that. I never really set goals for myself because I didn't want to like have like that mind block where it was just like I need to do this or else I'm not going to get anywhere. But when you know what you're doing, that's when like the goals are so important because you already kind of have your path. You've already built that path. So that's what I feel, and that's basically what like we kind of practice for. It's like small sizes, practice, 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 and then when it heats up, we already know exactly what to do. And that's when preparation meets opportunity, which is what Tim Sykes always says. And he knows it better than anybody else. It's like you take small trades, and then suddenly you're going to be taking trades that you never even expected because, you were prepared, like you knew what you were doing, right? So January and February and late 2020, they were one of the best times for every single trader out there. And it's not only about what you did, but it's also like knowing that the market was also really good, because that also creates bad habits, not just for me but for like every other trader. When everything is so easy, when everything is so well behaved, then suddenly now you're in a different mindset where I'm not going to lose in a month. I'm not going to ever have a red week. I'm not going to ever, have a bad trade, because you're like, that literally seems impossible until you do have that bad trade. And that's what happened to me in March, when kind of everything just like came back to me and I was like, okay, well, this can actually happen. Like, I'm not expecting it. That's kind of silly, but it was just a silly mistake. But this was maybe one of the first times that I actually traded a listed IMMP, which I never really had practice on. But what happened that day was like, it was like on a gap and crap kind of idea that I would have never ever traded before. I would have never even looked at this chart. And this was when, the OTC kind of wasn't really, there weren't a lot of OTC charts right now, and it was kind of slow, and it was just, a slow day, which happens. And then it all happened from like boredom trading. So some traders took the day off. There were no OTCs, but I went ahead and I still tried it thinking like it's not that bad. How hard can it be? But I kept trying, and trying is like the loss, it kept growing and growing, and now your mindset is like, okay, how do I get out of this? Because usually, everything is so perfect, it all aligns. This isn't aligning for me, and now I'm like emotionally stuck. And that's, I feel like, when you make the most mistakes is when you're not thinking clearly. It's not really like when you make like the most mistakes is not really when like a chart doesn't align with your plan. It's when you're now emotionally stuck. Because if I would have cut the loss right away, okay, I was wrong. That's fine. I cut the loss. The problem was I kept trying, and now I'm emotionally involved with the ticker, which, it's like a very bad mindset to have. So eventually, I took the loss and started once again slowly gaining confidence back for the next like few days. Um, that month I still ended good, but that was because there were still really good opportunities. It's just one ticker that can just really kind of mess up that month, or just like make you unstable going into further months. But other than that, everything was still working very well in March, and we still saw the difference, because between February and March it was definitely like a big difference, but it wasn't really like, oh wow, like how it is now, where there's honestly like no OTC charts that I can even look at. So let's move on to April, which was I actually took my first trip to visit my family, which is like the beauty of this job. You also get to get out. And also I was doing good, like gaining confidence back from the last month. So, and also I was preparing to like take the rest of the month off, but then something, unfortunate happens, which there is the good part about OTCs, but there's also the bad part, which I think it's important to whoever it is that is learning, to trade penny stocks or whatever it is, to know the risk you take when you hold these overnight. EENF, it happened. I filled some shares for a hold for the next day thinking gap up. I did overfill some since I thought it always gaps up and always has first day breakout, and then it always gaps up and when it breaks out. And then it turned out to be an 80% gap down the next day, which I was like, wait, what do I even do like in this situation, because I mean the chart was fine. I didn't really, maybe it gapped down, 10, 20%, but 80%, I was not expecting that. That was basically a tough one to cut the loss because how would I even expect that? So basically it wiped out all of my month gains in one trade, and it was all because it wasn't even because you know I traded it wrong or did anything. It was just unfortunate news overnight, which can happen to any ticker. Now moving on to, yeah, so like there's the good part, then there's also the bad part where you can have an 80% gap down just out of literal nowhere. You're like, well, okay. Now in May was ETCG, which is a very, very clean OTC runner. If you can go back to those days and review it, the breakout is perfect. Every single day holds very well, and now you're looking for the typical first red day. Very clean price action, and I also think that it may have been like one of the last OTC runners I remember very well, because after that it's mostly listeds and I've mainly been focused. Well, if there were more OTC charts, I would not look at listeds, but you also need to understand that when there's not opportunity somewhere, there's going to be opportunity some other place. And if another ETCG happened tomorrow, I mean, I would drop everything and just move on to that. But right now, you kind of have to focus on where else can I practice? Maybe not where can I make the big gains, but where else can I practice? Just, a ticker that you feel comfortable with, which I'll be talking about more eventually, but it's just, a ticker that you feel comfortable with, that you can practice on so that you're not completely cold when there's, a good trade or a hot market or whatever it is. So that was ETCG, and if you can go back to the price actions, the panics were very clean. And those were my main trades on it, were the panics on both of these two red days. And also the first green day was a very clean first green day as well. June, let's move on to June. June was, for me, and I feel like for many other traders out there, it was AMC. I remember that when GME came around like early 2021, I wasn't ready, and I also tweeted about this. Like I had no idea what to expect or how to even trade NASDAQ stocks well. But then after watching after watching GME and after watching it over and over, and then just kind of like being so prepared and then making $0 on it for the panic dip buy was for GME was in March, and I remember I was very ready for it and I made $0 on it, and everybody else did so good, and I'm like, how did I miss it? It was so clean. If you can go back to that day, it was in March for GME and also in early January, but I would say that the one that I was most prepared for was in March. After watching over and over, AMC happened, and I also kept trading it as much as I could for singles since the volume was amazing and it followed the pattern so well. So every day it set a top and looked extended, I would short some and cover into pullbacks or buy some on the dip, risk the low of day and sell on the bounce and so on. But the main days I tried to size up to get, the best. But when it wasn't like important, after I would just look for consistency on a ticker. So basically for this day, it was the panic dip buy that I missed on GME. Now I got a second chance on AMC, and I knew what I was looking for and I knew what I wanted to do. And it was one of my best trades for June and one of my best trades, overall. And obviously it was on a panic dip buy, which are my favorite, and I do love them. And then after, the big trade happens, I like to continue trading it because, it follows, but you're just looking for that consistent mindset. Okay, moving on to July was Neuro. I feel like for July was mainly just keep trading different tickers, to keep that consistent mindset. For Neuro, it was my best trade on the 19th, and I was able to short the parabolic and then cover into like the first unhaul and the first pullback. And I remember using small size and I covered right away, but little goes a long way. And then the next few days, I went short and also long some on the first green day. The first green day wasn't very good, but you can still try it. If it doesn't work, you can cut for a loss, or you can just take your easy gains and just move on. That was one of the good traders, and it was very extended and looking for the first red day and even the parabolic short, which do work, but just keeping in mind, kind of like, I'll talk a little bit more about this in the next few months, but keeping in mind that they can also be dangerous, but they can be very rewarding. It's the same thing. You gotta have good risk and small size, because little always goes a long way. And now all of the months were good, but now going into August, which was actually my first red month so far, so I didn't even think that was possible until it happened. It was on Hood, which is also another meme stock that provided a lot of good opportunity. It moved great just like the others. I had a few good trades on it in the beginning for a short. Almost every day you can make money on it, and you can see to this day it literally hasn't even bounced. So it's, you can tell, it's pretty crappy, and it's great for shorts. But when I tried to long, I erased all my profits on it and then a bit more when I came back to trade it again. So I do prefer trading in the morning until like 11 a.m. After that, I generally lose. So it's just knowing yourself. And that day I got short in the morning, and I actually had a decent gain. But in the afternoon, I just decided to come back and like quote unquote scalp for like one more single. But like, that's a pretty bad mindset to have because my day was already perfect. So I'm like, why would I even come back? So I guess that was my first mistake. Then I decided to dip buy on the first red day because it was down so much. Second mistake. I thought, it would just one bounce, but it kept dipping. So I cut but re-entered and with bigger size. Third mistake, bigger size. This one caught me, like it was kind of surprising because I thought it would at least have, just a little bit of a bounce, and then it never did. So I guess that was the fourth mistake. And then I cut, re-entered, and then I remember when I looked at the clock, it was 3:40 in the afternoon, and that was, the last mistake when I just like completely took the loss because I wasn't even paying attention to the time. You can't dip buy that late in the day. It was like I was dip buying like late in the day on a confirmed first red day when I was just looking for a single, even though I had already done good on the day. So yeah, it was the first red month for me. It wouldn't have been, if I would have processed a bit more the trade that I was taking. It was a panic to buy late in the afternoon on a confirmed first red day on an extended, on a very extended stock. I might have as well just waited for the first green day, but I was just looking for one single that, turned out to be the one that took all of my gains. So that was Hood for me. And then September, moving on to September now. This one was good. Started off the month with CEI. Everybody knew how sketchy this company is, and yet it still made it to $5. I guess, if being patient enough, it could have been amazing from $5 all the way back to down to $1. But I just took everyday short trades and recovered August and then some because I just, kept trading it almost every day, maybe not expecting it to go all the way back down to one, but knowing that it would provide opportunity almost every day out of the month. And it did. It had the first red day, had the continuation, then it had the first green day, and then it had, the number six short. So that's basically what I was looking for. And there were some other trades too, but that was basically just like my main one. Now going into October, it was DWAC and Fun. Meme stocks again. And I do know that everybody here has heard of them. The beauty of these tickers is it not only gives you like one opportunity to profit, just like AMC and JME, you have days after the move to keep trading it and trading it until the volume starts to die off. But it's a long time before that. And every day looking for a trade on it, it's almost always possible with the amount of volume they trade. So that's my favorite part about these, the days after. Sometimes the big days can get in your head. Well, for me at least, it can get in my head and I can be early. Like I was early on the short side for Fun, not so much on DWAC, but definitely Fun. I wasn't expecting it to halt up so many times nonstop, but like it was just basically me in the back of my mind. Like I don't want to miss this. This is perfect. This is the one. So I was early on it because I was just so eager to trade it, and sometimes it's just so easy to get early on it because they're already extended to the impossible, and then they go from the impossible to the super impossible. But that but then when you're right, you're very right, and it can be so rewarding. So that's why these tickers, they can also be dangerous. Just like OTC stocks can be rewarding but dangerous, like EENF overnight that can just crash 80%. These NASDAQs, they can be rewarding when timed right, but when not timed right, they can do the impossible. And like with a small account, it can end up in a really bad situation overall. Like it's like the good side and also the backside. The bad side, it's like it can be rewarding, but also you need to understand the dangers of it. And shorting parabolics, it's very dangerous for a small account because you actually don't know how much it can squeeze, and if it does, your small account can get go to zero. So it's just understanding that there's also a dangerous part of it, but there's also very rewarding when timed right. But when you're early and too eager, it can be a problem. So overall, October was, very good. I kept trading these over and over, and that leads, to November. So November, which is one of the recaps I haven't done, just because it was just hard enough to deal with the OTC market, not being hot, and also taking the big loss on CAR, which I know that a lot of people have also heard of this one, and that was like my second red month. So I was too confident, I feel like, when the market was coming back after a great October and thinking it could lead to winter heat. But then I was like met with CAR, and yeah, like CAR was my biggest loss of all time, giving back half and a bit more of October's gains on the ticker, which I'm sure like most of you have heard of it, from like $170 to like $545 in one day. So I started getting short in the low 300s. And yes, it pulled back for like a bit, but I remember it, it like pulled back for a little, and then I'm like, well, I'm going to be right. And then it just started holding and basing over 300, and it created the base, and then it started its run to 500. So I was stuck with like some short until I decided to cover, then tried to dip buy, but it was just all a mess. But the short side, first green day, hot sector news and volume, I mean, no one should short that, no matter how experienced they are. Should have covered when it created the base, but in the back of my mind, I was like, well, this went from 170 to 300. Like, I thought this could pull back just a bit more. Eventually, I was right, but like the timing is everything. If you timed it wrong, this kind of stuff happens. And that month, I never really got a chance to make any other good trades on the OTC market or any other listeds, just because it was a bit slow, so I decided to take it as easy as possible. And that's when it leads me to December Tesla. So now with nothing to trade, no OTCs running, no meme stocks, no anything, I had to, start doing something. So I started trading Tesla, and I feel like I also didn't do the December recap. So I guess this is what I've been doing all of December. It's all of December and all of January, which every single day I've been scalping Tesla just depending on um, the gap up, the big picture idea, if I think that it's a good short and everything like that. And then kind of like trading it every day with tight risk and, um, taking what I can. And then, kind of like how I mentioned, that getting used to one ticker with good volume and good risk. Keep trading it every day, not for big gains, but more for consistency and practice. That's just how I view these trades. Every day, maybe the only thing I'll watch that I've had for almost like 2 months, because I know that every single day it picks a trend and follows it, and I can take a small portion of the move, and I know that Tesla will always have the volume that I need. So, like, that's all I've been doing. That's all for 2021. I feel like I tried my best to take the best tickers out of every month, but I may have missed some. I probably missed a lot, but those are maybe the most meaningful ones, because the most meaningful ones aren't always the one that you did the best on. They're also the ones that you did the worst on, because they're the ones that are going to help you kind of like build yourself, because um, they're the ones that teach you that you have to change something, you have to do something different. And every trade is different, every loss is different. Every loss teaches you something else. And even if it's reinforcement, because maybe you already know the thing you did wrong, but it reinforces. Like, if you're moving, well, you already know that other traders have had that problem. It's like, I know they've moved and they've had a big loss, but maybe I did too. It's like, it's that reinforcement that you learn from every single mistake that you take, and also from every gain, because gains are just practice and practice until you suddenly make a really good trade, and then exponentially grow when you're ready and you've practiced enough. Like, the losses also are a part of it, because you can't avoid them. There's going to be times when you're going to be wrong, and then you're emotionally unstable, and then that's when everything just becomes a snowball effect. But it's like, how you get out of it, how you can start building yourself back up slowly is, what really matters. So for me in 2022, there's been no rush. I've been trading Tesla almost every day. That's basically all I've been doing. Um, everything will come when the time's right. Other than that, I will be taking it slow for Tesla for consistency as much as I can, or any other ticker that comes around, and just kind of keep doing that for, as long as it takes for the OTC market to heat up. It only takes maybe one ticker to truly ignite the OTC market, or one meme stock, or whatever it is that we get. But sometimes, it's going to be slow. And that's fine, because that's the time that you get to kind of focus on yourself, focus on your trading, your process, and have time to think. Because when the hot market comes around, there's almost no time for thinking. It's like, you're either ready or you're not. And I think you have to be ready for a hot market, or else, like, what are you doing with your time right now? It's like, you know, got to be ready, or else nothing is going to happen. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this recap, and I'll see you guys next time.